Rev.Jessie Brandon. I'm a life cycle celebrant and a metaphysical minister, and you're with me here today on Epiphanies, where I get to bring my two loves together, people and books. So here with me today is Effie Mitskopoulos, and Effie is founder of Soul Body Healer. She's a registered social worker and psychotherapist, specializing in holistic healing. She's also a published author, and she integrates hypnosis, mindfulness, yoga, and energy work to promote well-being. Effie is committed to helping others heal and grow, utilizing her insights and wisdom from her own healing journey and seeking knowledge, spirituality, and authenticity. So Effie, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me and that introduction.
Yeah. So we're talking about today the Mindbody Prescription, Healing the Body, Healing the Pain. It's by John Sarno. And so it says, I just read, my life was filled with excruciating back and shoulder pain until I applied Dr. Sarno's principles. In a matter of weeks, my back pain disappeared. I never suffered a single symptom again. I owe Dr. Sarno my life. And that's Howard Stern. That's what made me go, So, musculoskeletal pain disorders have reached epidemic proportions in the United States, with most doctors failing to recognize their underlying cause. Dr. Sarno reveals how many painful conditions, including most neck and back pain, migraine, repetitive stress injuries, whiplash, and tendinitises, are rooted in repressed emotions. And he shows how they can be successfully treated without drugs, physical measures, or surgery. And without further ado, I'm going to get Effie to tell us, why did you choose to bring that book today?
Why did I choose it? So I was listening to an interview with Dr. Andrew Weil, and he's this mind-body medicine, so another, physical medicine doctor, really believing in the emotional, spiritual side of physical issues. And so he had mentioned this doctor, and that when people just read the book, that their pain syndromes go away.
Wow.
And so just because of the knowledge, and sometimes you do actually need to see a therapist that knows about this stuff to really get into the repressed emotions and release it. But I've been actually suffering with chronic pain since I was a teenager.
Really?
So back issues, headaches. So I was like, I really believe in the mind-body connection. I mean, I'm a yoga teacher and Reiki master, so I prescribe to this stuff. I know that there's a mental, emotional, energetic reason for this pain, because anything that goes chronic, it's not actually a physical thing that's happening. And we've been told that, there's something physical, but we can't see it. But if you can't see it, why is it there? So I personally wanted to read it and experiment with knowing the knowledge, learning the knowledge, and applying it to myself, and to see what happens with my own pain. But also because I'm a psychotherapist as well, I have a lot of people that I work with chronic pain. And so I had certain clients in mind that I definitely wanted to prescribe the book to. And I have. And in this, there's a lot of syndromes. Like, I just want to read a lot of the syndromes that they're talking about.
Sure.
That maybe you don't even know that, there's a mental emotional component to it. So as it said, as you said, most low back pain, leg pain, most neck, shoulder, and arm pain, possible cranial nerve pain, fibromyalgia, tension myalgia, myofascial pain syndrome, temporomandibular joints, so carpal tunnel, repetitive stress. There's a whole bunch. Most chronic pain, it says, post-polio. And then there's gastrointestinal disorders of the circulatory system, skin disorders, so eczema, which I'm trying to help some people with. And then it goes even further. Emotions may play a role with autoimmune disorders, cancer, and cardiovascular disorders.
Wow.
So
that's pretty deep.
So, if you're wandering around, going from doctor to doctor, and you're still in pain and you're still having these issues, why not just, look into every avenue? And that's why I wanted to talk about this book here, just to open up the conversation even more to a more wide variety of people, because this book was actually written in 1999. And since then, there is a lot more awareness of the mental emotional component in physical issues. And I just kind of wanted to keep that going.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you found success personally?
So when reading it, so I finished it in Cuba a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So definitely have less headaches from it, and I feel like my spine is doing better. It's funny that he talks about when you have certain pains and the doctor says, oh, don't twist, or for me, I know my chiropractor told me to not do headstands. And so I don't do headstands, especially when I'm teaching yoga. I actually taught it yesterday, and I did it to demo so everybody can get into the headstand safely. And then I got a headache. So there's still something unconscious going on where I haven't released all the behaviors that you do, because you're told don't do this, don't do that. That brings on pain.
Yeah.
So there's still something in my unconscious mind that still says, okay, don't do a headstand. It's going to cause you pain. So then it caused me a headache. So
interesting. I'm very curious about that, because I went through a summer of facing my fears, and I did all kinds of different things. I went on the Maid of the Mist, and I climbed to the top of a tall ship to the crow's nest, and I went to Canada's Wonderland and went on roller coaster, because I'd always been afraid of them. I used to get quite motion sick, so I went on it, and my friends actually had to, when it stopped, I jumped off, ran to the fence, and just clung there, and they had to peel me off the fence and then carry me down the ramp. And I laid in the grass for 45 minutes until they sent for an ambulance. And I was in the infirmary for over 4 hours. And I went to the doctor and I said, what happened? And he said, well, remember the car accident you were in? I said, yeah. He said, well, you damaged all the balancers in your body. So you put yourself on the roller coaster, and it was just your body had no clue how to cope with all of that movement. Which is what I found out when I went skydiving, is the same thing. Zero gravity means the body has nothing to balance itself against, and I just, it was terrible.
I'm sure the fear didn't help, because it's your emotional centers, your unconscious mind is all connected to your nervous system, which is connected to every other system in your body.
Right.
So if there's a whole lot of intense, uncomfortable emotion going on, then it's gonna create an imbalance in all the other places too.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. Okay. I mean, definitely the roller coaster. I wasn't afraid of the skydive at all, but I did have a big emotional upset just before going up. So that could have set off something too. But I'm very curious to get this book and read it, because I want to see.
It's just some experimenting.
Yeah.
It does say that you read it, front to back, because it does go through all the syndromes and all the research and all the patients that he's seen that show, because he denotes, degenerative disc disease in the spine doesn't actually create pain. Slipped discs, herniated discs don't actually cause pain. Really? You're told it does because the doctors are trying to give you an explanation for it, but really he's seen so much evidence where, where maybe the slipped disc isn't even impinging a nerve at all. So really you shouldn't have any pain. Or in other cases, maybe something is impinging on a nerve, but the pain should be one place and it's another place. So
interesting.
So there's a lot of evidence that shows that no, this pain actually is not physically occurring. It's mentally, emotionally occurring.
Okay, so can you describe what kind of mental or emotional, we'll call it trigger or feeling, would cause something that becomes chronic pain?
So he describes a little bit of psychoanalysis, which is rooted in Freud, and he does talk about it's an unrepressed emotion. Mainly anger is what he talks about. So this is anger that was created possibly in childhood or present present emotions that are happening that are repressed. And it's not actually only things that are unpleasant situations that happened, but even pleasant things will cause stress, like buying a house, getting married, having a child, which are all like wonderful things.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is some sort of loss or some sort of need or boundary, breach, adjustment that's gone into the unconscious mind. And the key thing is that the unconscious mind always wants to protect you. And is deeming whatever this emotion from the situation that it's dangerous. Because there's things that go in that are repressed that it doesn't deem dangerous.
Right.
So it has to deem it dangerous. And so instead of creating the emotional upset, it creates a physical ailment in order to distract you from the emotion, because it says, no, the emotion is too dangerous. We need to protect you from this.
Wow. Huh. I had no idea.
So just by connecting yourself with the information, and I know, so reading it from front to back, getting through all the disorders, even if it's not the ones that you're experiencing, just to get it affirming in your head. But then at the back, there's the treatment part. And one of the treatment is making a list of all the things that you possibly could be angry about. Even things that you don't even think you're angry about.
Yeah.
So just by acknowledging it, releases it, because it brings it from unconscious mind to conscious mind.
Okay.
And then it says, so this can release a whole bunch of the pain syndromes. But then going further, you might need a therapist to work even deeper with it.
Oh, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Is there something else that you want to read to us that he's...
Yeah, since we're on the topic of the unconscious mind stuff, this is one of the aha things that came to me, because I also do hypnotherapy, a little more comfortable with the unconscious mind. Also in hypnotherapy is just meditation. And so, teaching yoga and meditation and then hypnotherapy, I'm quite comfortable with the unconscious mind. And this passage that he says actually made me really think that you don't need to blame your unconscious mind at all. There's no blame in this. It does this naturally. Okay, is this the same one? Is this the one that I'm looking for? Ah, there we go. So because the unconscious is often illogical and irrational, it may react automatically in the face of disturbing feelings. Most people, if given the choice between coming to terms with difficult feelings or experiencing intense physical pain, would choose to deal with the feelings. That's logical. But the way the human emotional system is now organized dictates how it will react. At the unconscious level, it is often illogical. If the brain continues to evolve, the unconscious may someday be more rational. At the moment, it is strongly influenced by childish, illogical reactions. And it was the whole point that, right now, in our state of evolution, it is illogical and irrational, and we can't blame it for being what it is. It just is.
Yeah.
And our best way through transformation is accepting these certain facts and just coming to an acceptance of your present experience and who you are and the way you are.
So I take that to mean that when something occurs, you may have a typical reaction to it, but your unconscious mind can see it in an illogical way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
All right, and be irrational in its understanding of it.
Yeah.
So almost as though I got a picture of a child in my mind just going, they don't understand what's going on, so they assume, something contrary to what's actually happening because they don't understand.
Yeah, and childlike thinking is very different than adult-like thinking. It's very, so childlike thinking is very egocentric. So they think, this bad thing is happening to me, it must be my fault, so I have to, unconsciously, create some sort of coping mechanism in order to keep myself safe and keep my parents loving me and taking care of me, so I'm safe. So it's almost like the unconscious mind is doing sort of that. It's always trying to help you and cope and create coping mechanisms to help you in some way.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I've always called that the ego mind, and I didn't realize, I mean, that's to me quite different, ego mind and unconscious mind. And I've always said that voice that you hear saying, you know, oh no, don't try anything new, don't do this, it's too frightening, and it comes from a place of, it only knows what it knows. It doesn't know what it hasn't experienced, and it doesn't want things to change, so it will tell you, no, we can't do this because it's dangerous, and its purpose is to keep you safe. So I would say that probably that's more the unconscious mind that's doing that. Is that correct?
You know, there's different philosophies on the different minds that we have, unconscious, subconscious, conscious. And then in yoga, they talk about the negative mind, positive mind, neutral mind. In dialectical behavioral therapy, they talk about the emotion mind, the wise mind, the logical mind. So in a sense, there's different things going on.
Yeah.
And part of it is definitely protective. Part of it creates these core beliefs. So in the unconscious mind, these core beliefs that are very automatic. So when something is triggered, it wants to automatically affirm itself that core belief is right. So then there's a stream of thoughts that go along with that belief, and then a stream of emotion and behavior. So there's things stored in there that you can definitely bring awareness to and then consciously change, or change in a meditative state.
Very cool. So have you prescribed this to any clients that you have seen noticeable change for them at all?
So far, this is a pretty new to me book. So one of the pain syndromes that it talks about that is unconscious, that the mind will make into a physical issue, is anxiety and depression. So I see a lot of anxiety and depression in people, and it's interesting. I have a client who's like in her 30s, so she's relatively young to have all this chronic pain, right? And so she noticed that when reading the book, that she brought more awareness to the physical side. The physical pain started to go down, but then the anxiety ramped up. Because it's like the brain was making another mechanism and was just converting the physical pain into anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So I'm not sure if she just needs to go further with it, work on the anxiety more.
Would that be like a case of where, like that saying, it's always darkest before the dawn, and people often say when you're having a spiritual awakening, the more you know, the harder it gets for a while, because everything's changing and being questioned and so forth.
Yeah.
Is it like that in a way, that you would be looking at this, and so if the pain decreases but you haven't yet resolved everything, that whatever you call it has to go somewhere? So
yeah, it could be, and that maybe there's more awareness still to go, because even when I do like mindfulness groups and things like that, or I teach a lot of mindfulness with people, and so they will tell me that now they're monitoring their reactions, and what's happening step by step, situation, emotion, or thoughts, emotion, behavior, what's the result of this whole thing, and being more and more aware of it. Then they realize, oh gosh, there's all these other things going on in me, and then maybe the judgment part wants to come in. So then emotions will increase. So it is very common that the more aware you are, initially distressing emotions will increase, but then as you learn to apply a mindful attitude of neutrality, suspending judgment, being patient with it, accepting, letting go, not attaching to things, trusting yourself, being more compassionate with yourself, then you're starting to calm that emotional process and that whole thought and behavior process, so then it starts to decrease. But you can only bring it up through awareness. If there's no awareness, then what are you working with? You don't even know. It's just going to stay underneath as some automatic unconscious process.
Yeah, I think I remember the first time I realized that rather than reacting to someone, I was observing myself and the feelings that were coming up and the surprise I felt at recognizing that and not needing to bring that forward in the way that I might have when I was younger. And it was just so fascinating to see that. And yeah, it's just really interesting to work through that stuff and become more aware of what your own thoughts and then behaviors and so forth, actions are driven by.
And it's a gentle, loving process, right? You are observing that part of you that has been, let's say, created into habits based on past experiences.
Yeah.
So you realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you're not even your behaviors.
Yeah.
You are the being observing all of these things, and all of them are changeable based on what your being feels is in your highest and best interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching from the book to you, how long have you been practicing psychotherapy and your work?
So I started about 10 years ago, and I was being supervised under a psychologist, and then after I did my master's.
Very cool. And so do you work primarily in Barrie, or do you go elsewhere? I know for a time there you were traveling, I think, to Alliston or something.
Yeah, so I still work in Alliston part-time, and then I have my private practice in Barrie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And how do people reach you to become a client of yours?
So you can just email me.
Yeah? All right. Well, that'll be on the screen.
Yeah,
so your credentials will be there.
Yeah, so right now I'm taking clients for groups and workshops and for Reiki, but not individual at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what all do you do? I know I read it out, but tell me, you're a Reiki master, you're a yoga instructor. What else?
Hypnotherapist.
Hypnotherapist, okay.
And clinical social worker.
Right. And what kind of hypnotherapy do you do? Do you do the work on? Like, I know there's quit smoking and weight loss and things like that.
So I've definitely used it for anxiety, depression, some trauma, chronic pain as well, and also addictions.
Oh, yeah.
And weight loss.
Very cool. And do you believe that the success is in what the client does or in what the hypnotherapy does?
So the hypnotherapy is there. So you put yourself in a meditative state. When you're in that state, you're more susceptible to change. It kind of like anchors the new habit pattern and belief in there. But then in your waking life, you do have to keep on going with it. You have to practice it.
Right.
So if I'm saying, so basically hypnosis can be used for any habit pattern, anything that you want to change. So if we're putting some changes, you have to put those changes into place. So if we're coming up with weight losses, maybe an easier one where maybe you're decreasing portion sizes and you're learning to eat, more vegetables and less of something else, you actually have to keep on going at it in your daily life.
Yeah. So it's not something that instantly changes in you. It's something that, as you say, anchors the habit or the thought. And then does it become the predominant thought when you're trying to practice those changing habits, those, meal portion and so forth?
So that's a more physical example.
Okay.
But just as an example, phobias, love extinguishing phobias so fast with hypnosis. It's amazing.
Really?
So just an example, so I had a client, fear of elevators. So for her, pretty fast, gone in 2 sessions. So I'm not saying it's all going to be that way, but for her it was fast. But then, so now, she got into an elevator, she was able to ride it all the way up to the top floor, she was okay. And then I said, well, now you have to keep on riding the elevator because the old pattern of being afraid of elevators is still there. So you're just trying to practice being okay in elevators and convince yourself even more that, you know, elevators are safe.
So basically the idea of hypnotherapy, it sounds more like it is it's really just the beginning of the whole thing. And it's really just, I've heard it called just suggestion implanting. And then what you're telling me is that you have to continue to practice that work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
in addiction is interesting because we're not only helping them stop whatever they're trying to stop that habit, but we're also implanting, but because we're having a conversation about which core beliefs are more supportive for you. So if you're having a trigger with certain emotions that maybe you feel like you're not a good person, let's just say. So we're going to anchor that, no, you are a good person, you are a loving person, these are some examples. So we're trying to anchor in more holistically, just the feeling with examples that you are good.
Yeah, yeah.
And because you're good, you can delay this urge and you don't need to act on it. And yeah, there's some powerful stuff that happens. But usually metaphors and imagery work really well. Yeah, so sometimes it's not even direct suggestion. It's some sort of imagery that they're going into, they're coming from maybe like a darkness and going into the light. And they have this light and they are light and they have all these gifts to show the world and to help people, and that's what it's all about. We need you to shine your light on everyone, and everybody needs to be shining their light. We need everybody's gifts.
Right.
And we're here on this planet together, helping each other and supporting each other in this community.
Right. Well, speaking of shining your light, you certainly shine yours. Thank you so much for being here. This is Effie Mitskopoulos, and she is a hypnotherapist, Reiki master, yoga teacher, clinical psychologist, clinical social work. Just amazing work, and we've been talking about the Mindbody Prescription here on Epiphanies. Thank you so much for coming today, Effie, and thank you to my guests for watching. I appreciate you having a moment to share and watch Epiphanies. Thanks for watching.